morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Faces of Carlsbad. We're here with you every so often on Channel 23. We're sponsored by Intrepid Potash, and we want to thank them for their sponsorship. And it's our program where you will meet people you know, some people you don't know, some people you'd like to know. And we have them from the very, very young to the very, very old. I'm talking about myself, not them. Anyway, we want you to know today we're here with a very lovely lady. I happen to know her, and I know you've seen her around Carlsbad because she walks up and down Main Street a lot. And we'll get to what she does on Main Street later on in the show. And I'm referring to Miss Amy Barrhart. Amy?
Hi, Bob.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure because every so often we get some beautiful girls. And we've had little girls who are very, very beautiful, and we've had middle-aged girls who are beautiful, and young and old. And it's a pleasure because sometimes we get people who don't even like us. And they're usually,
that's not possible.
They're usually men. They don't like us, but we've had some wonderful men too. But anyway, Amy, for the people who are watching our show today, tell us a little bit about Amy Barrhart, where you were born, and then we can talk a little bit about your mother and father.
Okay. Well, I was born in Tampa, Florida, actually, and we moved here in 1986 because my dad took a job with the whip. So like many other people, we moved here because of whip. So we were here at the beginning, basically. And my mom's a nurse at the hospital. Most people know her because unfortunately she's a pre-admission nurse, so she sees people before they come in for surgery. So everybody says, "Oh, I saw your mom today, Amy." I'm like, "Oh, that's not a good sign."
That is not a good
Yeah,
sign.
No, you had a procedure done then.
Yeah.
But like I said, we moved here in '86, so I was in kindergarten, so I went to school here my entire life till I graduated high school, and then I went to New Mexico State. And
wait a minute, you got here in '86 and you were in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. If I know a man by the name of Guy Lutman, he was in his 60s then. Oh my gosh,
goodness.
That's unbelievable.
Wow, that would make him like 90.
Yes. Well, he's a young-looking 90.
Oh yeah, he's a young, vibrant 90.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So graduated high school in Carlsbad. I loved growing up here. I have to say I was really sad when I graduated high school. I was looking forward to the future, but I loved living here, and I still have great friends that I made growing up here. I went to New Mexico State, so I'm an Aggie. I have a bachelor's in journalism and mass communications, and I minored in dance, actually, which is how I first met Guy Lutman, because him and Brenda were involved in that program, so they would come and give us feedback. So I then went to Texas Tech and got a master's in mass communications. And I was there for 2 years, and then I actually moved to Chicago, and I was there for 6 years. When I first moved there, I was looking for work in my area, which was public relations, and I couldn't find anything, so I just started working part-time for a locally owned clothing boutique, and eventually ended up becoming manager of that boutique, and so I was in that position for about five of my 6 years.
What was the name of the company?
It was called Clothes Minded.
Clothes Minded?
Yeah.
It was located on what street? Because I lived in Chicago.
Oh, okay. It was on Damon Avenue.
Damon Avenue.
In Bucktown.
Okay.
So just northwest of downtown.
Right.
And that neighborhood actually went through major gentrification. It was a really, really bad neighborhood to be in. And then probably about 10 years before I moved there was when it really started to change. So, I mean, it's really, not to get into the whole Carlsbad Main Street thing, but you know, when you're in a city like that and your neighborhoods like that, it's very easy to see how that frame of reference fits in a small town like this also, because it was a neighborhood where there was restaurants and bars and pubs and boutiques and also residential all happening in the same sort of space. So I was there for 6 years, and then I moved back to Carlsbad because the Carlsbad Main Street Executive Director position became available. And I felt that with my experience managing a small business and working in that sort of environment where you are working with other business owners, trying to promote the neighborhood, you're participating in sidewalk sales, there are street festivals, all these different things.
Yeah. We're going to get to that shortly, but what I want to do, your mom and dad, your dad's name is Bill.
Yes.
And mom's name?
Ronnie.
Yeah. Well, that's what I call her usually, but
Yeah, oh, Veronica.
Veronica.
Veronica and William.
I know. I always get confused. I never get confused with your dad's name.
Yeah.
With your mom's. And where? By the way, where were they born? Your parents?
They are from New York, actually. They're from the Albany area.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Talk about moving west.
I know.
They really moved
Big
west.
change. Very different weather, for sure.
Gee, I thought I was, when I moved from Ohio, I thought, gee.
Oh, yeah.
And then your dad and mom in New York. I only know one person who lived farther east than that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a guy by the, what's his name? Guy Lutman. Guy Lutman?
Yeah, across the pond.
Yeah, across the pond. Yeah, either, I think he came this way. Maybe he went the other way. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah.
The shortcut. So anyway, mom and dad, and what did dad do?
He's a mechanical engineer.
Mechanical engineer.
Yeah. So they met in New York, and then he got a job in Florida. So they got married and moved to Florida, and then I think the company he was working for there went out of business. So then he actually interviewed for this position here in Carlsbad, but was like, Carlsbad, New Mexico? Where is that? Why would I move to this teeny town I've never heard of? And I think he actually ended up looking at a few other jobs and then decided, you know what, I'm going to take that one. So then just drove cross country. And I remember we went back to my parents' home in Albany for Christmas, and then so we're there in the snow, and then we came here in January of '86, and I started kindergarten here, my second half of my kindergarten year. So it was kind of a major transition.
Did you fall in love with the place when you got here?
I did. Well, I don't really remember. I was so young.
Yeah.
I don't really differentiate between the two. But like I said, I loved growing up here. I had so much fun, and I'm still close friends with everybody I went to school with here. I hang out with some of them here. I'm in a wedding with one of them, and one of their weddings in a few weeks, and it's just nice that you sort of build that connection in a small town like this, and you know everybody.
Well, when you were little and you first came here in January, did you cry a little bit because there was no snow?
I think it wasn't weird to me because in Florida we didn't have snow either. So it was actually an anomaly when we would go to New York and there would be snow, because it'd be really exciting because we never got to see it normally.
Yeah, right. I remember getting off the train many years ago, and this was in August, and it was an air-conditioned train.
Yeah.
And I got off and it was 100 degrees. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Where did I come from?
Yeah.
I get this, but you get used to it.
You do get used to it.
And you fall in love with the area. It's, to me, and I think you would agree, you look around this area and you look over the hills and you see those beautiful mountains.
Absolutely. When I was living in Chicago, all of my friends make fun of me because they're like, why did you move here? All you talk about is New Mexico all the time. New Mexico this, New Mexico that, New Mexico food, New Mexico weather, da 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 da. And we were always super excited. I actually ended up in Chicago because two of my girlfriends from New Mexico State were from the Chicago suburbs. So there we came across at least two restaurants in Chicago. I know there's a third one now since I moved back that are owned by people from New Mexico that serve New Mexican food.
Is that right?
Yeah. So we were just enthralled. One was called Zia, and it was owned by a family who had a restaurant in Berlin. And then there's another one that was just a few blocks from my last apartment there called Flo's, and they were co-owned by somebody from Santa Fe. And there's a new one owned by somebody from Taos. So it's so interesting that you get that in a big city, not just Mexican food, because there's plenty of that there, but people specifically opening new Mexican restaurants.
And I love Mexican food.
Me too.
Mexican food and fish are my two favorite
Me
dishes.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh my
for
gosh,
sure.
they're fantastic.
Yeah, love it. And pizza.
Yeah, well, vegetarian pizza.
Yeah.
So anyway, you got here, and you fell in love with it right away. You applied for the position. You got the position. And you're so enthusiastic about doing so many interesting. Fill us in on some of the things that you might have surprised you when you first got here.
Well, I think I was kind of surprised by, when you think about a small town, you don't necessarily expect certain levels. You expect a lack of sophistication, but then coming back here and really seeing how business savvy some of the business owners in the downtown district are. So many people already had websites, I was pretty impressed. There was already people taking advantage of Facebook. So Whereas I think when I was growing up, I always felt like we were behind the times. When I came back this time around, I felt like I was really impressed with how tech savvy and business savvy so many of our business owners are. And I'm just impressed with all the improvements. You know, I think Carlsbad overall looks fantastic, and I think the downtown looks great, and that's a huge part of the groundwork that was laid before, you know, I even took this position, because there have been some really passionate people involved in, you know, keeping Carlsbad great and making it better. And I think we're really lucky that we have that sort of dedication.
Well, I think we're lucky to have somebody as enthusiastic as you about this thing, because it's not an easy job.
No.
And people might think it is, but it isn't.
Yeah. There's a really high burnout rate in Main Street programs, no matter where you go.
Yeah.
Because typically you're one employee working for volunteers and working with volunteers, and you're trying to do so many different things that you really have to have that enthusiasm for it. And I actually was in Silver City last weekend, and I was there with one of our board members, Mindy Kiefer, who works at Carlsbad National Bank right down the street. And we were actually hanging out with the Silver City Main Street director, whose mother was a Main Street director before him.
Yeah.
They have the oldest Main Street program in the state. There's 22 programs in the state. Ours is 16 years old. Theirs is 30 years old.
Oh my
so theirs
gosh.
is double the age that ours
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And he is from there. Like I said, his mother was the Main Street director, so he was sort of born into it. It's sort of interesting. He was actually a city councilman when he was 21, 22, then decided to go to college, came back, and then got the job as the Main Street director. So what he had to say was, if I wasn't from here, I don't think I could do this. I couldn't do it anywhere else, because I care so much about this town. That's why I'm willing to do all this really hard work and go the extra mile that's required in that job.
That sums that up.
It does.
beautifully,
It
doesn't
absolutely does. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how it is. Because if you didn't know the people that you were trying to help, if you hadn't walked these streets as you were growing up, or had all these different experiences, you wouldn't have the connection to it that you have, that makes it possible for you to be passionate and to keep doing it.
Well, Amy, just look around in our scenery around here with this beautiful courthouse, and the grass is so nice and green.
Oh yeah.
It just overwhelms you. And
It is. The courthouse is beautiful. They do an amazing job. I was complimenting the groundswoman the other day. I'm like, it always looks so beautiful out here. So inviting. I think it's such a great thing when people are driving down Canal Street to be able to see this. It's such a great introduction to the downtown area. And now with our new landscaping on Canal, it's just that much better.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
And have you noticed the stores that are opening up all over this city? It makes you feel good that we are growing.
It does. And the other thing to think about too is that when you make beautification progress like that on Canal Street, and then you look around and you see all these other businesses doing facade improvements, it's
Right.
a domino effect. Once people see somebody improving something, they think, oh, I could do that too. Because we've got two different buildings down here that have both improved their exteriors just very recently. So it's always exciting to see, and then that encourages other people to really beautify their property as well.
And it's nice to go into these buildings, especially on the Main Street area where I spend a lot of time because I like to feed cats. And the people who own them are so
Yeah.
nice to us.
Yeah, they are.
And they make you feel welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that in the past where I lived was not always true, because
It's
some
true.
of these people were, uh-oh, here he comes again, lock the door. But
Bob Shaw.
that's right. I'll never forget the time I went down to the police station the first time, and we had Captain Bob Bird. You were not here when he was working for the police, and he was such a wonderful man, and we became such good friends. But I went into the office, and the secretary said, oh, Mr. Scholl, who would you like to talk to? I said, I'd like to talk to Captain Bird. And he was in his office, and he said, tell the guy I'm not here. But, you know, it's that friendship that
Yeah.
just engulfs you.
Yeah, that's cute.
Now, what is your favorite time of the year when you deal with Main Street? Is it the summer? Is it the fall? Is it the winter, around Christmas time? Or
I think it's summer because of the farmers market. I think that's one of our most successful events. It's very time consuming. I think this last year I was down here, I think we had 16 market days, and I was here for 13 of the 16 Saturdays.
Wow.
And it's just a really fun, neat experience because you have people who are local growers. They're selling vegetables, and then there's crafters. They're selling their crafts and their vegetables to local people, and so then you're just sharing everything locally. You know, the people who are spending their money with the local growers are then putting that money back into our local economy. So it's just a really neat experience, and it's neat to see people come and hang out, chat with their neighbor. You see the same people every week, and it's awesome for us to see that support that we get and the support that the growers get. And it's nice to be able to provide something that people really appreciate.
And they're here every Saturday, isn't
Yep,
it?
every Saturday. We're starting June 23rd, actually. And we're going to be here from 8 to 11 every Saturday. We're going to really try. We ended the market last year in the middle of September. We really want to go into October because that's when, you know, the weather starts cooling off a little bit.
Yeah, right.
So some of the vegetables that are struggling in the hottest time in the summer actually really start to thrive. You get some new stuff coming in. So we're hoping to go into October, and then we're also hoping to try to do one farmer's market in November, the Saturday prior to Thanksgiving.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so we could sell pumpkins and gourds and all that kind of stuff that you want at that time of year.
Well, that's interesting. And do we get people from out of the area too? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we do. You know, we do advertising so that we can draw people in from out of town.
Yeah.
And also, because we hold it right here, basically where we're sitting on the courthouse lawn, anyone driving down Canal Street will see us here. I've heard stories about tour buses pulling over when they've seen the farmers market going on. And it's sort of a nice cross promotion too between the farmers market and then the downtown businesses. Some of them open early so that they can get some of the customers that come to the farmers market.
No, I saw Mr. Lutman. He had part of that last year, and he was selling apples. And before the customers could get to him, he had eaten all of his apples. So, you know, you have to watch.
Wow, not a very good entrepreneur.
No, he's not a good, not when it comes to selling apples, let me tell you. So anyway, so what's the future? What do you do in your spare time?
In my spare time, well, this last year I actually taught ballet classes, which was very cool. It was a really rewarding experience. Unfortunately, this job keeps me so busy that I decided that this coming year that wasn't really probably gonna happen, because I hate to do something and only give 75% to it. I like to give 100%. So by the end of the season, or end of the school year, just a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, I'm so sad to not do this anymore. But I'm hoping I can go sub classes for them next year. I do a lot of hiking. That's probably my favorite thing to do here.
Hiking, huh?
Yeah, and luckily I have some good friends who like to hike also. So, like I said, we went to Silver City last weekend, and there's a place called City of Rocks there, where there's huge rocks, and they're just sort of there. I think they're from volcanoes. But they're very cool, and we've done Guadalupe Peak a number of times, and we do all those trails out there. And
oh, you've walked to the top of Guadalupe
yeah,
Peak.
it's very rewarding.
Was that kind of scary at times, though?
It can be a little bit scary at times. It's almost more scary because your chest is heaving so much that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out. I need to rest. Yeah. It's very cool. Once you get to the top, you're like, I can't believe I just did this.
So, did you run into any of our reptiles on any of these hikes?
Just some lizards, some little ones, not too big.
So you didn't run into any rattlesnakes?
No, I don't think I've ever run across a snake. I know that I have friends who have, and my parents do sometimes, but I've never seen one myself, luckily.
Well, don't feel badly. I've been here all these years, and I've only seen one.
Really?
And that was a young one.
Wow.
And I don't hurt, and I try to avoid them, and I don't want to hurt any of these animals.
No.
Because all of these animals, reptiles, or whatever that we have in this area are part of our society.
I agree. And we're in their habitat.
We certainly are. We certainly are.
Yeah.
Well, do you like to read?
I love to read.
Well, what kind of books do you enjoy reading most?
I read all kinds of books. Since I moved back, I became re-addicted to Agatha Christie mysteries.
Oh.
Which I know is kind of funny.
No,
but my parents used to read them also, and so they had a huge collection of them, and I told them, oh, I'm buying Agatha Christie books at garage sales or whatever, and they're like, Amy, we have a huge box. Go get it. So I think, I think over a few months I read 43, because you can read them in like a day, because they're such quick reads. Yeah. I mean, I read a lot of like literature, like Jane Austen, and I really like Jane Eyre is one of my favorite books. And of course, I recently read The Hunger Games, finally broke down and read the first two. I'm waiting for someone to loan me the third one so I can get my teenage literature in.
Yeah, I heard that was a very, very well accepted book.
Yeah.
Or series.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because I think all of my male friends were reading those books. Actually, my boyfriend went to go buy it at Hastings, and he's like, "Oh, pretend like you're buying this for your little sister," because he was embarrassed to buy it himself.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I was like, "Nope, you want it, you have to buy it yourself."
Well, let me give you the name of a mystery writer that I would highly recommend. And her name is M.C. Beaton, B-E-A-T-O-N.
B-E-A-T-O-N, okay.
She writes two separate types of mysteries. One is a Scottish detective or a constable who lives in the Northern Highlands of Scotland. His name is Hamish Macbeth, and she's written 28 books on him.
Wow.
And then she writes about Agatha Raisin, who is a female, I guess she figures out crime too, and she's written about 24 of those books. And she's quite a writer, and the books are easy to read. You would enjoy them. They go very fast.
Wow.
And I'm reading my 25th in the series right now.
Oh my gosh.
Hamish Macbeth.
Yeah.
He's a type of man that you would look upon as somebody who has a very nice way with ladies. He respects ladies, but when it gets too close to romance, he wants to stay away.
He shies away.
He shies
Yeah.
away. He stays with his dog and cat. So.
Probably smart.
That's right.
Smart of him.
Well, you've got
Less
a terrific
stress.
career going here. The people really enjoy talking to you.
Well, thank you.
And you've got some people working with you also on these.
Yes. Yeah. We have a board, and then we have some other volunteers that help with some of our different events and organizations. And we partner with other organizations like Keep Carlsbad Beautiful. They help us put on the Electric Light Parade, which is amazing.
Yes.
Last year, we actually had the ladies from Keep Carlsbad Beautiful and your wife judge the Halloween contest for us. We had the Carlsbad Anti-Drug and Gang Coalition help us with that as well. We had Character Counts helping us with that. So there's a lot of, I think to me the most successful organizations work with other organizations to accomplish your common goals.
Yeah.
So we are really lucky to have that support from other organizations who see what we're doing and they want to be a part of it and want to help with it.
Well, that Halloween thing last year was interesting because Mr. Lutman came up to me and he said, "Would you please take your mask off?" And I says, "Guy, I'm not wearing a mask."
Oh.
Yeah, oh, you've got to be careful around him. So anyway, yes, and that Christmas parade is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
And we've been blessed with very, very nice weather through the years too. And I hopefully we'll have another good Christmas this year.
I hope so. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're the big MC for that,
well,
for the Electric Light Parade.
Deanna Taylor and I do.
Yeah.
We try to do a decent job.
I never get to hear you because I'm always down at the other end waiting to give out the trophies to people.
I know it. Yeah. So anyway, Mom and Dad, Dad's still working, right?
Oh yeah, they're both still working. Yeah. Who knows? They keep saying they're going to retire, but
No.
They'll be working for a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
But Dad injured himself in a running contest here a while back.
Yeah, so he hasn't really been running as much. Everybody says, "Oh, I see your dad running up and down the streets," which always cracks me up. But unfortunately, yeah, he's been injured for a few weeks now.
Yeah.
And my brother Michael, him and his wife live here. Michael's a teacher at PR Leyva.
Oh.
And it was funny because we had some of the same pupils. My dance students also had him for class. And it always cracked me up whenever he and I both moved back right around the same time, and people would be like, oh, Mr. Barrhart, is that your husband? I'm like, ew, that's my brother.
That's your brother. Well, Amy, I want to thank you for being our guest today.
Sure,
this has
my
been
pleasure.
absolutely wonderful.
Thank
you're
you
a
for
wonderful
having
guest.
me.
Our ratings will go up when they see
I
such a
hope
pretty
so.
girl you are. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Intrepid Potash and Channel 23, on a beautiful day in Carlsbad, goodbye and good luck. Amy.
Thank you.